Wolverine followed him, grumbling something about the fact that if Juggernaut didn't get him then he would. Rogue twisted her head left, then wrenched it right and finally stared at the floor. She was desperately trying not to look into Hypnotic's eyes. "What's wrong? I only want to help you. Madeline loves her stinky diapers, don't you?" Hypnotic said, moving to the ribbon that held Rogue to the cube. "I am at least trying to be fair. I could just get someone to leave your face stuck in these bars and just make you do whatever I want you to. Or I could just put it on you and leave you stuck in it," Summon suggested. "Be reasonable, Rogue, we're only trying to help." Rogue looked backwards as she felt her leg being drawn backwards. She saw that there was now a handle attached to the support of the cube and that Hypnotic was turning it very slowly. Rogue's eyes met Hypnotic's for a brief microsecond. For the heartbeat it took for Hypnotic to register what happened, Rogue thought that she would be okay. Then her jeans were suddenly a lot warmer and a lot less comfortable than they had been a precious few seconds ago. Rogue threw her body forward onto the mat and began to sob silently. She thrashed her arms and legs, spreading the mess, increasing her discomfort as she started to wet herself in front of her former teammates. "Oh look, Madeline, Rogue is a bigger baby than you," Hypnotic said. Madeline sat back, hopeful, for just now she had been left alone. A foul, acrid smell filled her nostrils. Her plastic pants were now in Hypnotic's hands, who put her fingers to her lips and blew Madeline a kiss. Then Madeline too was revealing her bowels into her underwear. Unlike Rogue's jeans, though, the diapers held the mess in a relatively stable position. Despite how uncomfortable, Madeline was happy that the mess she had just made wasn't now running down her legs. "Good grief, what a smell. You have outdone yourself, Hypnotic." Summon clapped her hands together. "I do try," Hypnotic said, taking a mock bow. "They need changing," Summon said, putting her fingers to her nose. "Well, I am not going to do it," Hypnotic said, turning to Summon. "I think you should do it." "Hold on, Hypnotic, it's because of me that they aren't attacking us just now. But it's because of me that they now want to kill us. Make them do it to each other," Summon said. "No, let's bring someone in to do it," Hypnotic said. "Let me see who you've got in mind," Summon said, allowing her thoughts to traverse into Hypnotic's brain. At first the pictures were jumbled half images and feelings, then a definite picture began to form. Red hair, firm white skin, big blue eyes and a firm body. Jean Grey was etched into Hypnotic's mind. On top of this image was that of a red and white candy striper's uniform. And in a puff of black smoke the cube had its third occupant, complete with an extra image stolen from Hypnotic's mind. Although the girls wouldn't be able to see it, Jean was wearing training pants. Both Madeline's and Rogue's eyes went wide as they realized that Jean would be changing them. "She can't move just now because I've placed her in stasis," Summon said to Hypnotic. "You might want to do the old eye thing." Hypnotic moved to the paralyzed victim. "Jean!" Cyclops yelled as the black smoke filled the Blackbird's cockpit. "She's still here, Scott. Just fly the plane." Storm shouted back, creating a mini tornado to move the smoke away. Jean sat back in her seat, choking. "What's wrong with her?" Scott said, paying no attention to flying the aircraft. Logan stood up and pulled Scott from the pilot's chair and allowed Scott to race backwards to his girlfriend. Jean stood stock still in the middle of the cube. Both Madeline and Rogue were shying away from her, desperately trying to hide their soiled ruse. Hypnotic finished applying the personality makeover to the docile mannequin that stood stock still in her candy striper's clothes. Moving back to Summon, she said, "How do we switch her on?" Whispering, Summon said, "It's not really her, it's a copy from your mind. I am just putting the finishing touches, including a couple you don't know about. They better not be against me or else you'll be soiling yourself, Summon, my dear. No, they are to make Jean feel slightly more at home around babies." "What? Training pants?" Summon breathed. Jean blinked and looked at Scott. She then threw her arms around him and hugged him tightly. "Whatever that was," she cried into his shoulder. "I don't want to it again." Jean opened her eyes. She began to sniff the air. I smell a poopy diaper. She sang, turning on Madeline. I wonder who it belongs to. She stalked towards Madeline, who was trying to shrink through the bars of the cube. When I find the poopy baby, I will make her play the sit-up game before I will change her. Jean laughed as Madeline fought for air and space with the red and white childlike dress looming before her.